Welcome to the HACCP Academy. And now that we've got rid of our preliminary steps for our HACCP food safety plan, we get into the first principle. So we're going to look at hazard categories. We're going to actually learn how to put it onto the template. So let's get going. If you haven't already seen the introduction to the HACCP plan, definitely make sure you click here to do that. Today you're going to learn about the hazard categories specific to HACCP. We're going to look at the 5 steps of hazard analysis, and then we're going to actually have a look at how you actually put that on your template that we're doing in class. You'll remember back to WHS risk assessment, and we looked at a range of hazard categories. Now we're going to talk about specific ones to HACCP. First one's biological hazards, and these are living organisms which actually will cause or put human health at risk. They include bacteria, parasites, and viruses. The next one is chemical hazards. Now remember, with HACCP we have 2 different types. One is natural, and they might be poison that's found naturally in potatoes or zucchinis. The second is actually a result of a contamination from agricultural or industrial contamination. The final one, very important, physical hazards could be broken bones in the chicken, it could be glass, it could be metal from the process. To perform a hazard analysis, there are 5 steps. Typical hazards, you could be looking at food poisoning, microorganisms, physical contamination. The first step is to identify potential food safety hazards. Then we're going to evaluate the potential hazard and is it likely to occur. Then you need to justify that in the paperwork. Then we're looking at identifying control measures that may control or eliminate that hazard. And then finally, the documentation for each step is very, very important. Now that we have the 5 hazard steps, let's have a look at an example. And you'll see here, this is a map of DY. Now we're actually going to walk our dog as a class. We're going to start off near the council area. We're going to cross at Coles. We're then going to walk down this street, along the beach, back around the headland, and then back up along the main road, and then back to the council chambers. Now the first thing is, when I cross the road here, I am actually maintaining the lead on the dog, just in case it gets run over. Coming along here, I'll keep the lead on. I don't want him running into a supermarket taking any food. When we get down to the beach, I'm also looking at the fact that I can't take him off the lead because of regulations. Coming back along the front here, we're making sure that he gets a bit of a run around, and then coming back along the main road, you're actually making sure that he's safe. Coming back, once he's inside the yard, you can actually let him off. So if you actually look at that, I have identified the potential hazards. I've evaluated which ones are going to be important. I've justified my decision, and the control measures, especially on the main road, using a lead, and also there are other regulations that you have to maintain, and obviously I didn't document it, but this is an example for you to get an idea of how hazard analysis works. Now it's time for you to do something. We have the hazard analysis template that we're using, and the first step in hazard analysis is the process step, and we're actually going to use the example of prepared chicken. Now that we've actually done the process step, step 2, we're actually going to look at any hazards. And you'll see here we've actually identified a biological hazard, chemical hazard, and physical. So I've said salmonella could be a problem in preparing chicken. It could have residual antibiotics as a chemical residue. And finally, the foreign materials could be broken chicken bones from when it was cut. The next thing you're going to have a look at is the potential for the hazard to occur. So in our example, we're looking at preparing chicken. Now you'll recognize this table Basically, you look at the probability, and I'd say B, known to occur, it has happened, and consequences, it could be lost time injury or illness. Now, that B2 actually gets put up in this column right here. It's not as hard as it looks, is it? Next step, we're actually going to step 4 and 5, control measures and document. So you'll see the control measures is right there. When you actually look at control measures, I've looked at approved suppliers, correct temperature control and food handling, and visually checking for the physical contaminants. Make sure you watch all of the HACCP plan from intro through 1 to 7. I hope you enjoyed that. It's not as hard as it looks. Get into that template. If you need any help, we'll do that in class. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time at the Harbour Tech